For this next routine, we're using the RIP Trainer. So the first 3 exercises I'm going to show. First one's a hip hinge. So what you're going to do here is you're going to align the RIP along your spine, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab in the low part of the back and the neck here. So we have 3 points of contact. I have my head, my upper back, and basically right on my butt here. And the goal is I'm going to do a hip hinge, okay, by pushing my hips back, have a slight bend in the knees, and I want to attempt to keep contact with all 3 points on my back, okay? So I'm hinging. This is what happens quite a bit, so we really want to work on correcting that form and just going as far as your flexibility will allow, and then coming back up tall, okay? So there'll be a little tension at the top. So hinging forward, okay, all the way up tall, so there's that tension, forcing me to stay active through that core. One more. Good. Okay, number 2 is going to be a row. So I'm going to grab right in the middle of the handles here, okay, and just going to pull straight back. Right below the chest line, nice neutral spine so my head isn't forward. Straight out and just pulling straight back. Now, every time you use this, it's a unilateral load, so there's that anti-rotation component that you have to be aware of. So this is trying to pull me this way, so I have to activate through that midsection to stay tall and keep that correct posture. Just drive an elbow straight back, wrists aren't bent, everything's nice and neutral, back and forth. So that's the row, that's number 2. And the third exercise is a rotation, which will show a few variations, but for this one, we're going to go arms relatively straight, okay? Shoulders are down so they're not creeping up by the ears, and I'm just turning my whole body. It's not an arm exercise. You want to think about turning the torso, turning that midsection, and the arms are along for the ride. So we're here, turning, and coming right back. So as I rotate, we've activated that midsection, and again, shoulders stay down, and back. For the second group with the RIP Trainer, we're going to start with the isometric reverse lunge. Okay, so it's a reverse lunge, obviously works the lower body, but utilizing the RIP Trainer, I'm going to incorporate some upper body as well, and more specifically some anti-rotation. So we're going to bring the trainer to the end range here, try to keep that neutral wrist, okay, shoulders down, so it's right under the belly line, the end of the row position. And from here, I'm going to hold it here and go back into a reverse lunge. Okay, so there's a lot of balance going on. So the leg that's closest to the resistance is the side that's going back. And try to keep everything in a nice straight line. Okay, so I can feel that that rotational pull happening. So I got to keep everything active and engaged and just go back and forth. Okay, and obviously we do both sides. Second exercise is a paddleboard row. So I'm going to have this hand position here over the top, the bottom, and this position here at the top of the rip. I'm going to start almost like I'm pointing at the end range, or I'm sorry, at the attachment point. Nice neutral spine, and I'm just going to pull, drive that elbow back and pull right to my side here. So this hand here doesn't really change position all that much. It stays right around the chin area. The movement is a pulling movement right to the back side. So I point, pull right to the back. So again, drive that elbow back. Arm stays relatively straight. There will be a slight bend. And again, obviously we get both sides there. Then the last exercise, another rotational one, but we're going to involve more of a punch, more of a rotation through the whole body. So I'm really getting up on that bottom foot, on this foot here, rotating and driving. So a little different from the rotation that we did earlier, is I'm really going to load it up and get that punch. So I'm extending that arm all the way out, bringing this one in a little bit. Okay, so it's a push and a pull here, pivoting off that back foot. Pivot, rotate, and punch. And try to get that stick it at the end there. So really work that shoulder stability and get that nice resistance at the end. All right, for the last group with the rip, we're going to get a little more advanced with our movements, a little more dynamics. First one's going to be a pitchfork. I'll show a few without the jump, but then we'll add that jump in there as well, okay? So we're going to start overhand grip on both handles here, and we're going to start in a bit of a squat position, okay? Slight bend in the hips and knees, neutral spine. And basically what we're doing is, imagine throwing a high elbow. So I'm going to drive it up and then back down here. This hand, again, will stay, not going to move a whole lot. It's going to stay close to that hip here, down and up. So as I stand up tall, I'm driving that elbow back, okay? We're going to add that jump in now. So on the way up, stand up tall, add that jump. Driving the elbow back, okay? So that's number one. Number two, we're going to get a jump turn, okay? So think of the rotation in the first group that we did here, but we're going to make that turn more dynamic. So it's going to be a jump. So the arm position stays here. It's going to turn the body, okay? So it's here to here, and then right back. So I'm trying to stick that jump. That's the hard part here. So it's again here, jump, and then again, this is wanting to pull me here. So I have to activate, stabilize, and then control the movement. So have that pause every time. So it's not just back and forth, but I want you to stick, absorb into that movement, really get those muscles firing, and then jump back, okay? That's number two. Last one's a windmill. A couple of variations. We're going to keep the hand close to the hip the whole time for this one. So here's your hand position, underhand, overhand here. Start with small circles first. So we're perpendicular to the anchor point. We're going to start with a small circle. Just think of drawing a clockwise circle with the end of the rips. Let me show a few here. So I'm tall at 12. It's really challenging at 3, and then at 6 I'm at the bottom of my squat, and then coming back around. So that's what it looks like right there. Take this hand away from the hip, go bigger circles. It's going to be more challenging. I'll show it in the real time video.